This is Mrs. Zappia with the explanations and answers for Worksheet 4.6D, Writing and Solving Two-Step Equations. Write an algebraic equation and solve each problem, then solve each equation. The total cost of a suit and 4 ties is $292. The suit costs $200. Each tie costs the same amount. Find the cost of 1 tie. We know that the cost of a suit plus the cost of all of the ties adds up to $292. We know the cost of the suit is $200. We know that we bought 4 ties. They cost the same amount each. Let's let the variable t represent the cost of 1 tie. Then we subtract the cost of the suit. Remember to subtract the same number from both sides of the equation. Bring down the 4t. Subtract, that gives us $92. That represents the cost of 4 ties. Split that evenly between the ties, and the cost of a tie is $23. Mary's sister is 7 years older than Mary. Their combined ages add up to 35. How old is Mary? This is a good problem for a two-way table. We only need to keep track of the present age, not the future age. Once you have your table set up, determine which person is the complete unknown. So Mary's sister, let's just call her sister. Mary's sister is 7 years older than Mary, so you know a little about the sister. The sister is. So that makes Mary the complete unknown. So we'll use a variable for Mary, and then we relate the sister's age to Mary. 7 years older than Mary would be adding 7 to her sister's age, or to Mary's age. Now we know their combined ages add up to 35, so we add these expressions to get 35. A plus 7 is equal to 35. Because it's all addition, I don't need any parentheses to separate Mary and her sister's age. Combine your like terms. A plus A is 2A. Bring down the rest of the problem. Undo the addition with subtraction. Simplify. That leaves us with 2A is equal to 28. And I'm going to bring this up here to finish the problem. 2A is equal to 28. I'm going to divide both sides by the coefficient. And A is equal to 14. So the question is, how old is Mary? And A is equal to 14, and so that means that Mary is 14. Number 3. Maria spent a total of $6.80 at the store on 1 jar of peanut butter and some apples. The peanut butter cost $3.50 and the apples cost 30 cents per apple. How many apples did Maria purchase? So we know that she purchased peanut butter and apples. So let's just start with that. Peanut butter plus apples. And she spent a total of $6.80. The peanut butter cost $3.50. The apples cost 30 cents per apple, but we don't know how many apples she purchased. Let's use A for apple, and we write 30 cents per apple as 0.30A. And then we have our equation to solve. Take away the cost of the peanut butter. That gives us 0.30A. And when you take away the cost of the peanut butters, that leaves you with the cost of the apples, and that's $3.30. Then divide by 30 cents per apple, and that will tell you how many apples Maria purchased. And the answer is 11 apples. 3.30 divided by 30 equals 11 apples. Number 4. The Bulls had a combined score of 117 points between their last 2 games. They scored 15 more points in their second game than their first. How many points did they score in their first game? You could use a two-way table to set this up, or you could go straight to writing an equation. If you were to use a two-way table, you would keep track of game 1 and then game 2. So I'm going to put game 1 and game 2. They scored 15 more points in their second game. So we know a little bit about the second game, but the first game is the complete unknown. So game 1, I'm going to put down G. Actually, let's use P for points for that, because we're keeping track of points. So game 1, we'll call that P for points, and then the second game is 15 more points. So you add 15 to that score. The sum of those points is 117. So the points for the first game plus the points for the second game is equal to the total points. Now I did not need to use parentheses here. Combine your like terms. That's 2p plus 15 equals 117. Undo this addition with subtraction. Subtract 15 points from each side of the equation and simplify. 2p equals 102 points. Divide by the coefficient, and p equals 51 points. Number 5, a skating rink rents skates at $3.95 for the first hour, plus $1.25 for each additional hour. When you returned your skates, you paid $7.70. How many additional hours did you keep the skates? So the first hour is $3.95. We have 3.95. And then each additional hour, we don't know how many hours it is, so let's use H for variable. And that was $1.25 each. And we write that as 1.25 times the number of hours. You paid $7.70. So that's equal to $7.70. And we have to solve for H. So let's take away the cost of the first hour, subtracting $3.95 from both sides of the equation. Bring down the 1.25 per hour. And when you subtract, you get $3.75. Then divide by the coefficient, 1.25. And the value of H is 3. So how many additional hours did you keep the skates? 3 hours. Number 6, the sum of the measures of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. One angle measures 45 degrees. The measurements of the other two angles are equal. So since they're equal, you can use the same variable for both of them. What is the measure of the other two angles? So it says that the sum of them is 180 degrees. So that means that 45 plus x equals 180. Combine your like terms. 45 plus 2x equals 180. Take away the 45 degrees. Bring down the 2x. That gives us 135 degrees. Divide by 2. And the value of x is 67.5. So what is the measure of each of the other two angles? That's 67.5 degrees each. Number 7. On weekday afternoons, a local bowling alley offers a special. Each bowling game costs $2.50. Shoe rental is $2. You spend $14.50 total. What is the number of games that you bowl? So the money that we're spending is on shoes and on games. So we're going to add that together, and you spend a total of $14.50. Each game costs $2.50, but you don't know how many games you played. So let's use G for game, and that will be $2.50 times the number of games, 250G. Shoe rental is $2, and that's a constant because you use the same pair of shoes the whole time. There is no simplifying to do. Just go ahead and subtract 2 from both sides of the equation. Bring down the 250G. So we spent $12.50 on games. Divide by the coefficient. And the number of games that were played is 5. So what is the number of games that you bowl? 5 games. Number 8, 3 consecutive even numbers have a sum of 342. Write an equation to represent the situation. Solve the equation and find the 3 numbers. So we have to pay attention to whether they're consecutive numbers or consecutive even or odd. So the first number will be x. Consecutive even numbers, the next one will be 2 more than the first number, and the next one will be 4 more than the first number. Because remember, when you're working with even numbers, they are 2 numbers apart and then 4 numbers apart. So then we also know that the sum is equal to 342. So we'll write down that that's equal to 342. So that is an equation that can be used to represent the situation. An equivalent expression would be combining the like terms. So that would give us 3x plus 6 equals 342. So either one of these equations could be used to solve the problem. So let's go ahead and solve it. Subtract 6 from both sides, bring down the 3x. 342 minus 6 is 336. Divide by the coefficient, and the value is 112. So it says find the 3 numbers. The first number is 112, the next consecutive even number is 114, and the third is 116. Because the first one is x, the second one is x plus 2, and the third one is x plus 4. You can double check to make sure those are right by adding them together and making sure they equal 342. Number 9. The length of a rectangle is 5 times the width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 36 inches. Draw a diagram, write an equation, and find the length and the width of the rectangle. It says the length is. That means your width is the complete unknown, so we'll use a W for width and relate the length to the width. The length of the rectangle is 5 times the width. To write 5 times the width, we write 5W. So we've drawn and labeled our rectangle. Now to write an equation. The perimeter is all of the sides added together. So we'll write W plus 5W plus 5W is equal to the perimeter of 36 inches. Let's combine our like terms. 5, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12W is equal to 36. Divide by the coefficient. W is equal to 3. So it says to find the length and the width. W equals 3. So width is equal to 3, and the unit of measure is inches. And then the length is 5 times that. So the length is 5 times 3, which is 15 inches. You can double check to make sure that's correct by adding those numbers together and making sure you get 36. So the width plus the width plus the length plus the length, and that should equal 36. So that's 30, 33, 36. That is correct. Number 10. Admission for the basketball game costs $6. Snacks cost 75 cents. What is the greatest number of snacks you can buy if you want to spend no more than $12? Write and solve the inequality. So the money that you're spending is going to be spent on admission, and it's going to be spent on snacks. You want to spend no more than $12. So you could spend $12 or you could spend less than $12. The admission is $6. The snacks are 75 cents each. So let's use a variable for the number of snacks, and I'm going to use K for snacks. So that's going to be 0.75 K. Let's take away the cost of the admission, and that's going to leave us with the amount of money spent on snacks. 12 minus 6 is 6. Remember, when you're working with inequalities, there are times when you need to reverse the symbol. When you are multiplying or dividing by a negative number, you must reverse the symbol. In this case, we are subtracting, so we don't even have to think about that. Our next step is to divide, and we're dividing by a positive number, so the symbol is preserved. So we just bring down the symbol. The number divided by itself is 1K. And then 6 divided by 75 cents is 8. So the question asks, What is the greatest number of snacks you can buy? And the answer is 8 snacks. You could buy less, but 8 is the most you could buy. Number 11. Write an equation for the angle relationship shown in the figure and solve for x. Find the measures of RQS. Angle RQS is this one. And TQU, angle TQU is right here. All right, let's see. We've got a 90-degree angle right here. And the two angles that we're looking for have no particular relationship to each other. But I do see that these are angles on a point. And I know that angles on a point, when you go all the way around a circle, will equal 360 degrees. So their sum is 360 degrees. So I'll start with 3x plus 90 plus 4x plus 221 is equal to 360 degrees. Then I'll combine my like terms. So I've got 3x plus 4x is 7x. Combine your constants. 90 plus 221 is 311. Bring down the 360. To solve the equation, undo the addition with subtraction. Remember to do the same operation with the same number on both sides of the equal sign. This is equal to 0. Bring down the 7x. 360 minus 311 is 49. Divide by the coefficient, and the answer is 7. So x is equal to 7, and we go back to our diagram, and we needed to find the measure of this angle, which is 3x. So that's going to be 3 times 7, or 21 degrees. So this angle is equal to 21 degrees. So we said the measure of angle RQS equals 21 degrees. The other angle over here is 4 times x. So that's going to be 4 times 7. And that is equal to 28. So the measure of angle TQU equals 28 degrees. You can double check to make sure that's correct by adding all 4 of the angles together to get 360. So 221 plus 21 plus 90 plus 28 equals 360. And that concludes our, oh wait, we have one more page. Solving each equation. So when you're solving the equations, remember to use the opposite operation and to perform the same operation on both sides of the equal sign with the same number. We undo subtraction with addition, and the value of p is equal to 26. Number 12, divide by the coefficient 1.38, 1.38. A number divided by itself equals 1. And the value of x is 6. 8.28 divided by 1.38 is 6. Number 13. It says to multiply, so the opposite of multiplying is division. Since you're going to divide by a fraction, remember that when you divide by a fraction, you're actually multiplying by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 2 over 7 is 7 over 2. These cancel each other out because a number times its reciprocal is 1, and 1 times x is x. And 7 times 7 halves. You can put a 1 under the 7 to make it a fraction. 7 times 7 is 49. 1 times 2 is 2. And 49 divided by 2 is 24.5. Or 25 and a half. 24 and a half. Number 14. Undo subtracting 13 with adding 13. Add 13 to both sides of the inequality. And again, when you're working with inequalities, you need to pay attention to when you should preserve or reverse the symbol. You reverse the symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Here we're adding or subtracting, so the symbol is preserved. Bring down the p. And the answer is p is greater than 27. So all numbers greater than 27 are the solution. Number 15. Here, this means to multiply, so we will divide. Show division with a fraction bar. Divide by the coefficient. We're dividing by a positive number, so our inequality is preserved. Bring down x. So x is all numbers greater than, and we divide 12.42 divided by 1.38 to get our solution of 9. The solution is all numbers greater than 9. Number 16. It says to multiply to solve that equation. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal of 3 over 7 is 7 over 3. A number times its reciprocal is 1. We're multiplying by a positive number, so the inequality is preserved. 12 times 7/3. You can simplify by dividing by 3 first. 3 goes into itself once, and 3 goes into 12 4 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 28 over 1 is 28. The solution is all numbers greater than or equal to 28. Number 13. To solve this problem, add 4 to both sides of the equation. This is going to give you a zero pair. Be careful and bring down the minus sign as well. Instead of saying minus v, we just call it negative v. And 28 plus 4 is 32. Then you can either multiply this by negative 1 or you can divide by negative 1 in order to clear the negative sign. A negative times a negative 1, negative times negative is positive, and the answer is negative 32. Here it says to divide, so we will multiply. Multiply by the divisor, which is 7. We'll write it as a fraction since we're multiplying it by a fraction. On the right side, I'm going to write it as a whole number because I'm multiplying it by a whole number. 5 times 7 is 35. 7 divided by 7 is 1, and x divided by 1 is x. So the solution is 35. Number 15. It says to multiply. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. When you divide by a fraction, you actually multiply by the reciprocal. We show multiplication with parentheses. The reciprocal of negative 2/5 is negative 5/2. A reciprocal times the number times its reciprocal is 1, and 1 times x is x. 14 times 5/2 is going to be negative, and half of 14 is 7, and 7 times 5 is 35. And so the answer is equal to negative 35. Number 13. Negative 4 minus v is less than or equal to 32. Add 4 to both sides of the equation, or the inequality. This is a zero pair. When you simplify, make sure you bring the negative sign down. Since we were adding, the symbol is preserved. 32 plus 4 is 36. Next, we could either multiply by negative 1 to solve this problem, or we could divide by negative 1. I'm going to divide by negative 1 in this case. You could also put the invisible 1 there to help you if you get confused with the negative variable. Divide by negative 1, divide by negative 1. A number divided by itself is 1, and 1 times v is v. Since we are dividing by a negative number, we must reverse the inequality symbol. So instead of less than, it is greater than or equal to. Then, a positive divided by a negative is a negative, and 36 divided by 1 is 36. The solution is all numbers greater or equal to negative 36. Number 14. The problem says to divide by 7. To solve that, we will multiply by 7. I'll write 7 as a whole number on the right because I'm multiplying it by a whole number. I'm multiplying by a positive number, so my inequality is preserved. And I'm going to write 7 as a fraction on the left because I'm multiplying it by a fraction. The 7's cancel each other out because 7 divided by 7 is 1. then x divided by 1 is x. The solution is all numbers greater than or equal to 28. Number 15. This says to multiply by -2/5. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. When you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply, and the reciprocal is -5/2. -5/2. When you multiply by a negative number, you must reverse the inequality symbol. So I'm going to go ahead and reverse that now from less than to greater than. A number times its reciprocal equals 1. 1 times x is x. Then over here, we want 8 times 5 halves. You can take half of 8 is 4, and 4 times 5 is 40. So again, to multiply that, we have 8/1 times 5/2. These cancel each other out. 1, or they don't cancel each other out, I'm sorry. Dividing by 2 is 1. Dividing by 2 is 4. 4 times 5 is 20. So I'm glad I double checked that. And the answer is 20. Then I just want to double check the symbol or the sign as well. And we have a negative times a negative is a positive. The solution is all numbers greater than 20.